Welcome back into our special coverage of Issue 2 and the vote to bring recreational marijuana to Ohio. If Issue 2 passes, cannabis would only be legal for those 21 and older, but anyone who knows teenagers knows they have their ways.
They sure could, and we return now to Michigan, where weed has been legal for about 5 years. News 5 investigator Jonathan Walsh spoke with some teens who say the shift has changed the culture at their high school.
It's a normal afternoon in Michigan's Hazel Park High School for junior student Landon Schlock and senior Dayana Reed. But they say what is different? The attitudes of students towards marijuana since adult recreational use became legal in Michigan.
I think there's still a lot of people that do it in our school, in school.
That's like putting candy in front of a 5-year-old and going, oh, don't eat this. There's like a dispensary on every corner.
As you drive into Michigan, you can't miss the many billboards promoting all things cannabis. Hazel Park itself has 8 marijuana stores, with a 9th on the way.
I think with the addition of the dispensaries, it makes it 100 times easier to get a hold of.
Neither Landon nor Dayana say they do pot, but they tell us there are definitely pot parties going on around them.
Is that a discussion?
Definitely is. It's like, let's all get together and go smoke.
And it's not just at parties.
Worried about our students and their accessibility and what that was going to look like for our students.
Principal Tammy McHenry says she has no problem with adults using cannabis, but she does have an issue with irresponsible adults not locking it up or just handing it out.
So it's not always the kid getting it from their own home, but somebody got it from a home or a relative or a friend or someone. I mean, we've had kids asking total strangers, will you buy that for me?
There are now vaping sensors in school bathrooms to help catch problems with THC. Once they go off, an alert is sent to security iPads.
So they can look on the camera to see who's coming out. Then we search the students, search their lockers.
But because of the many forms marijuana takes these days, like candy, those searches are harder now, especially searches by police dogs.
Because so many of our kids are going home to the families that are using it legally, and it gets brought into school, the scent, the odor, what the dogs pick up on. So it's really made it difficult to use the dogs.
Tammy says in 2021, there were 23 incidents of marijuana in the high school, last year 29, and this year already 6 cases.
If you do the math on that, if we just did 8 months of school, 9 months of school, we'd be looking at close to 50 instances. We would be doubling what we did last year.
While Hazel Park is dealing with pot problems, there are U.S. studies published on National Institutes of Health and the Journal of the American Medical Association website showing either no effect on kids using or a decline in marijuana use after recreational legalization. The first retail cannabis store in Colorado opened up about 10 years ago. Its Department of Education reports school suspensions tied to marijuana were increasing. A brief drop during the pandemic, but then a big jump last year. It's important to note its population has increased over those years as well. And the California Department of Ed reports from before recreational legalization in 2016 to its most recent survey of 7th, 9th, and 11th graders, student cannabis use is down. Hazel Park School Superintendent Dr. Amy Krupe says even middle schoolers there are trying pot.
When our younger ones find it normalized, that's concerning because now we're going from the age of 11 all the way to 18 vaping marijuana.
Students in Hazel Park face a 10-day suspension and a meeting with the superintendent to see if they can come back to school at all.
We explain all that to the students at our grade level meetings, but yet they're still doing it.
Even when they see fellow students in bad shape at school after some potent pot.
And the kids not realizing that the marijuana in 2023 is not the marijuana their parents grew up with.
We've had kids go to the hospital the first time they've used it, so scary stuff.
Landon says it boils down to many kids simply just don't care.
There probably should be a stricter punishment, and it should be more greatly enforced.
Why bring it to school? And that just shows how much people are addicted to it, that you can't live without it for a couple of hours.
Well, another thing to consider here, school leaders at Hazel Park told me if Ohio schools don't already have vape detectors,
They will be needing them soon if this passes.
Well, certainly a lot to consider for any parent weighing issue 2 right now. With this concern top of mind for so many, we wanted to better understand how exactly cannabis affects the brain, especially the developing brains of young people. So I turned to the experts for answers. What does the science say?
Well, the science is pretty clear on the effect of marijuana in 2 key critical periods of brain development. One is during fetal life, fetal development, and the second is really during adolescence.
Dr. Cheryl Ryan is a fellow in the American Academy of Pediatrics. She says data shows developing brains up to the mid-20s are vulnerable to the effects of the psychoactive component in cannabis, THC.
We see memory problems in kids who are regular heavy users. We see deficits in memory. We see things that we call the amotivational syndrome, where kids have lower school performance. We also see things with difficulties in cognition.
She says the data also shows higher rates of anxiety, depression, and psychosis,
especially in young people who have a family history.
What we don't know is what all the long-lasting effects might be. Right now, the National Institutes of Health is conducting the ABCD study, the largest long-term study of brain development and child health in the country.
We worry that in a developing brain, when you alter the chemistry, alter the effects of those receptors, you can change kind of how the brain develops.
And people can develop a marijuana use disorder, says CEO of the Adams Board of Cuyahoga County, Scott Osicki. You're telling me that a lot of people are surprised to hear that you can be addicted to marijuana. Explain that.
Yeah. For a long time, people said, that marijuana is not addictive at all, right? But now we've been finding out that it's actually 1 in 10 people can become addicted of using marijuana. And if they start before the age of 18, it's about 1 in 6.
Given what we know and what we have yet to learn, Dr. Ryan worries the science will get lost in the messaging. That legalization without education could mean young people see marijuana as being risk-free.
How do you counteract that so that young people understand that it just may be much different for them to use it than adults?
Okay, so this conversation doesn't stop here, Jonathan. You'll actually be speaking with some of the people we just saw in your stories.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I'm going to jump off the set here and on to a panel discussion all about Issue 2 and marijuana. Together with IdeaStream Public Media, we're hosting an interactive forum to discuss all things cannabis. So you can join the conversation from the News 5 Facebook page, the YouTube channel, and also on IdeaStream's social media. That all starts at 6 o'clock. We'll see you then.